Okay, so now that our layout is all connected, we'll show you a wider shot of that later on, but we did make our final connection here. The last thing we need to do now is to power up the track. Okay, quick editor's note. Near the end of our previous video in this series, part 5, we completed the loop of track by permanently fastening it to the surface and filling in the voids with ties. However, as you may have noticed in this video, the track is still temporarily fastened to the surface and there are voids where we still need to fill in the ties. This is because in the actual sequence of steps, we attached the feeder wires to the track after the loop of track was closed, but before we permanently fastened the track to the surface and filled in the ties. The reason we're presenting the attachment of the feeder wires a bit out of sequence and in a separate video is simple. Our intention was to show the entire track laying process in a single video. However, as it turned out, if we included everything in part 5, that video would have been way longer than it ended up being. So instead, we decided to complete the loop in part 5, a nice clean place to end, and power the track as a separate topic in part 6, even though it was slightly out of sequence. Alright, let's get back to it and get that track powered up. So our original intention was to use these Atlas connector lead or feeder wire combination, but off camera we tried to put these in and basically the connector just fell right off the wire. So we're not going to use those. So what we're going to do here is we've got this 18 gauge bell wire. 18 gauge might be a little large for our project here, but we're gonna give it a shot anyway. Yeah, so I got a little coil here. I'm just gonna take off a few feet here. Our transformer will be sitting right here on the edge of this, on this side of the table anyway, so this will be nice and close, but I do want slack just in case we change things a little bit later on. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that. And I'm gonna cut these ends off here, because you'll have to expose some wire. And the way to do that is we got these nice vice grip wire strippers, and these work really good. You basically just put your wire in there, there's a little stop there, and just grip it and boom. Wire comes off really nice. So once again, kind of grips the wire and then breaks the insulation, and your wires are nice and clear there. Now that might also be a little bit too long of a insulation stripping, so I'm just going to take a little bit of that off. And basically what we're going to do is turn those into an L, because what we want to happen here is each one of these wires, we want it to be like right in that rail section, just like that, and that's where we're going to solder it in place. And these don't have to be right across from each other. I can stagger them a little bit if I want, if I need room to kind of work for whatever reason. Blow that away. And I'm just going to work from below here and just push these up through the hole. So here comes one wire. And here comes the second wire. So we're going to put a little bend in here, and I'm going to use a pair of pliers because we want these bends to be nice and sharp, or as sharp as we can get them. We don't want a lot of loopiness here because you don't want loops that's going to like rise above the level of the track. We want everything to be below the level of the track. Okay. Now I'm just test fitting this right now, because what we want to do, ideally what we want to do whenever we solder, is we want to tin the ends of these wires. And what tinning is just basically coating them in some solder. So we're going to throw a little flux on these. Flux helps everything stick, or everything adhere, I guess is a better term for that. Grab our soldering iron. Put a nice coat. See how shiny that is right there? That's what you're looking for when you tin something. So it's got a nice coat of solder on it, so that when we go to solder to the rail, it should adhere nice. At least that's the theory. Your soldering iron tip should be tinned as well. Same process. Just put some flux on the tip and put some solder on it, and if your tip is nice and shiny after you do that, then you're good to go. All right. So we have our wires tinned, ready to go. Let's put them in position. So I'm just going to pull down on the wires here and get that right on the inside of that rail. Just like that. I'm going to position both, but I'm going to do the first one, then I'll reposition the second one, and we'll go from there. So that looks pretty good, I think. What I'm going to do is just give it a quick rail car test here. And look at that. We're not testing this one here. This one here is where I position it where I want it. I just want to make sure that that rail car just goes right over. And it seems to. So I think we're good. I almost kind of forgot I should flux that rail a little bit. Again, flux is really important. We've probably already kind of beaten the flux thing to death, but it's what makes the solder flow. And you want to make sure that the solder gets behind the wire, between the wire and the rail, and we get good, adherence. All right, so it looks like we're fluxed and ready to go. Let's go ahead and see if we can't get a good solder here. Again, wish us luck. First time doing this ever, so. All right, that looks pretty good. We'll let that set for a second and we'll get the second one ready. I'm gonna put a little glob of solder on the tip of my iron here. Get the cord out of the way, because I can't actually hold the wire down and solder at the same time. But if I can get a little solder here, that will hold the wire down for me. So, should turn my angle here so the camera can see what I'm doing. Now you can see here I got a big blob of solder on top of the rail. I'll try to clear that off with, ooh, wire just broke away. What we'll do there is we'll actually take some emery cloth and we'll smooth that right down. All right, so that was a little bit of a hack job on that, but like I said, we'll take some emery cloth, we'll let it dry, or not let it dry, let it harden, cool off, and then we'll take an emery cloth and we'll smooth it down to the rail. This is an 800 grit emery cloth here, or emery, like a piece of sandpaper. It's not emery paper, I guess. But anyway, 800 so it doesn't beat up on the rail too much here. So I'm just gonna kind of go over it. Yeah. Looking good. Okay, with our loop completed, we have our track all put together. We have all of the connections soldered, and we have our feeder wires attached to the track, soldered, and attached to one of our older transformers over there across the way. We cleared off some of the tools off of the layout here, and it is time to take our train for a test ride and see if this whole thing works. All right, made one complete loop with no derailments, pretty smooth. We got the speed right up there. All right, looking pretty good. One of the tests that you can do to make sure that you're getting good connectivity with the solder joints on the Atlas FlexTrack is to do the lighted coach test. This is a test I just kind of made up. I'm sure other people do it, but on our Bachmann Easy Track, the lights would flicker in the coach cabins when you went over certain joints, and there was nothing I could do to fix it. I pressed the joints together, made sure the connections were good, but they always flickered over certain spots. Now with the soldered joints, you'll notice here as the coaches make their way around the loop that there's no flicker whatsoever, and that's just kind of a testament, I think, to how good or how quality the soldered joints are. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it with our video series on replacing our Bachmann Easy Track with Atlas FlexTrack with soldered joints. And just to recap in summary what we did, we stripped away our Bachmann Easy Track. We took all the old coverings off of our layout. We expanded that corner over there by a little bit, so we increased our loop size. We added a pond feature, and then we laid down our Atlas track and soldered the joints, and I think our results came out pretty good. We're pretty happy with them. So we did bail out on doing the turnouts. We had planned on doing some turnouts and doing kind of a lot more to make things interesting, but we made a game time decision as we were laying this track, and we decided that we would take our extra track, because we did overbuy, and we're going to do another loop of HO track inside the layout here. So we're going to use our extra track to do that, and then we're also going to add a N-scale or narrow gauge loop inside here as well. So we purchased some N-scale Atlas FlexTrack online, and we're going to add that here as well. So we'll do those projects as separate videos just to show you the progress, as well as any additions to our scenery and so forth. So anyway, those will be upcoming videos, and good luck with any model railroading projects that you take on, and we'll see you in the next video.